Elizabeth Wamoya after her to introduce herself before we go to the presentation. Karibu, Annabelle.
Thank you very much, Agnes, and welcome. And I want to say that I'm very delighted to be part of the KNH Patient Engagement Week, and I'm looking forward to the session. Thank you very much, Agnes.
Thank you, Annabelle. You not told us where you come from and what you do.
Sorry, Agnes?
You have not told us where you come from, what you do.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you for that opportunity. I look forward to saying more about who I am. Yes, I'm a corporate management and training consultant, and I'm a partner at Psychosocial Support Center, Open Space. And I'm very, very passionate about training. I'm very, very passionate about training customers. And I major mainly on the soft skills, and that contributes to the professionalism and the individual and the organization growth. And I'm very, very happy to be part of this team. I recently trained KNH team in communication and business change. And therefore that is how I came to meet several of you, and I joined the team to take part in this KNH Patient Engagement Week. And I'm looking forward to sharing more insights. I've also been part of the other 2 days, and I've been listening in, and I'm very, very happy and looking forward to making contribution on more insights on this patient awareness, effective complaint management for client delight. Thank you very much, and I'm looking forward, and I'm very, very grateful. That is Anna.
Thank you very much, Annabelle. I knew there was more because you had taught us just a few weeks ago on communication. Thank you. Ms. Elizabeth Wamoya, karibu sana. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you very much for this very honorable invite. My name is Elizabeth Wamoya. Professionally, I'm actually a nurse, having evolved further into the corporate communications department in healthcare. I currently work with the MP Shah Hospital, where I serve as the Group Business Development and Client Relations Manager. Indeed, it's an honor to be part of the team today as we discuss further how we can be able to enhance the patient experience. To me, this is a key area that I love. I love to mentor new and ongoing staff from various departments on being able to understand the patient's needs, and at the end of the day, them being happy with the service. Thank you very much, and I look forward to this discussion.
Thank you very much, Karibu sana. We are glad to have you. We are now going to go into our first presentation by Ms. Annabelle. Taking you through the session, I'm Dr. Karingo from Kenyatta National Hospital. I'll be helping in coordinating. Please feel free to give your comments and your questions at the Q&A section. Karibu, Annabelle.
Thank you very much, Agnes, for that, and thank you for the opportunity to also start the session. I'm grateful, and I'm looking forward to sharing more insights on, as I've shared. I'm very, very passionate about the client. I'm very, very passionate about building teams. I'm very, very passionate about making that soft skill contribution to enabling people to grow at individual level and at corporate growth. So in this session, having said that I'm very, very passionate about the client, I'm very, very passionate about our patient today, who is our client, I'll major more on our patient as a client. I'm going to see the deep need of us being very, very particular about the client who is our patient. And I'm also going to look at how clients evaluate our services to them. What are those soft things that they look out for that maybe we are maybe ignorant about, but are very critical for the client. I'm also going to look at what the client's expectations are when there are matters or complaints that are unique and require their attention. Maybe unique to them, but maybe not unique to us, but you're going to see deeper on that. I'm also going to look at how then we can manage these challenges and mitigate the same and ensure that we meet the needs of the clients and even exceed those expectations. I want to start by saying that our client is an unwilling buyer to a willing seller. That's the reality, because it is the circumstances that force us or bring them to us. And so I want us to look at then, how is it like to sell your wares to someone who is unwilling? How is it like? Is it always easy? And that's the point at which you realize many times probably that's why we don't even understand our clients, because it's circumstances that force us to be with us. It may be the routine checks, it may be an accident, whatever it is. It is a circumstance that has forced them to be with us. So I want us to look at them on that area. And also I want to, even as I'm looking at the client, I want to look at complaint management, looking at the WHO definition for health. Health being the state of the complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of the disease or infirmity. And therefore, I want us to look at, it's not just the physical well-being, there's also the mental well-being and the social well-being. So as we are looking at as a complaint, as you're looking at the challenges that the clients encounter, are we also taking care of the mental well-being? Are we taking care of their social well-being? And that's our responsibility. So complaints are inevitable in any service, anywhere, in any organization. Complaints are inevitable, and everyone has a right to make a complaint. And yesterday, as I was listening in, one of us, one of our key speakers talked about there being an expert. The patient is the expert based on their own health. You are the experts. They come to you as the caregiver because you're the experts in providing that care with us. So complaints may not be, we can't run away from that. And complaints may be from all ends. But I want us to look at now that aspect of the client complaining. How do we look at it? So complaints are not necessarily bad. In some cases, actually, complaints may help us reflect more on the system, on the processes, not on the individual probably who has been taken the complaint to. And therefore, complaints are an important aspect of quality improvement, because they give us feedback, and feedback is always good. Anyone who sticks on doing things the same way, year in, year out, day in, day out, then there is no growth. We are looking at being able to, take those complaints as a way of giving us feedback. And therefore, complaints also give the expert, the expert this time being the patient, they give them their voice. And therefore, their perception is your reality. Now, our patients are vulnerable. And together with those probably who have accompanied them, their visitors, their relatives, their friends, and they are also anxious and overly protective. I'm looking at those who have accompanied them. For that person probably who requires to maybe be carried on a wheelchair or has to be escorted to come for their appointment, or even for this accident, whatever it is. And this patient has a preconceived attitude to the situation they are managing. They are unhappy. They are not, it's not a happy thing. So what I want us to focus on is that the patient then is looking at their complaint and issue as a very serious thing. And as they're looking at it as a very important part of their well-being, which you've seen is all those aspects of their well-being, then this issue to them is very, very critical. And they feel they would want the response to be that it has been taken as seriously as they are taking it. And effectively, the client is scared. They want out. They are not happy to be there. They don't like or trust you. You who is a service provider, they would want to trust you, but they can't. They may not have faith in the system, and maybe they look at you as incompetent, not because that is what you are, but because the situation dictates that they behave the way they are behaving. And not at that point then, they feel that everyone is against them. No one really cares about them. So as we focus on the complaints, as we look at the complaints, I want us to look at the client as someone who is aggrieved, someone who is not their real self. As they make complaints, they may be nervous, they have some harshness, there is emotions, they may be rude, and maybe as you get to know them later, you find that they are not as rude as they looked. They may be very unreasonable, they may lack the social skills to communicate properly, and they may also lack understanding of how you operate or the organizations. And therefore, what does that require of us? Looking at the fact that all this is not in their own making. They are being driven to be in that state. So that then requires for us to work extra hard so that you can achieve true communication. True communication in the sense that then there will be, there'll be some bargain because you are the expert, they are the expert regarding their own health. So in order for you to have that balance, you need to really work hard. And, I want us to remember that what may be obvious to the client, is not obvious to the client. It may be about the system. It may be about the processes. It may be about what they require to do. It may look like a very simple thing, and I've had the previous speakers in the last 2 days refer to them, so that now we want to break it down to the client's level so that they can come to an understanding. And again, I want us to also looking at the fact that not only in the client situation, customers are not always right. Yes, we say they are always right, but in the real sense, they are not always right. So what does that mean? They are customers, and they are not easy to deal with because individuals are unique. They may be extremely angry. They may have a difficulty making a decision. They may be unclear about certain things. And I hope as I say all these things, we are identifying, because these are the areas, these are the loopholes there where complaints come in. And so regardless of how difficult the situation is, it is then our responsibility and duty to serve them diligently. Now, in the context, as you're looking at the client, who is my main focus, the problems they have, the questions they have, the fears, the personalities also, because like I said, people are not always easy to deal with, and therefore they require us to achieve communication by working the extra mile. And I always like saying that whenever we go the extra mile, there are no traffic jams. So when you do that little thing that may be very obvious to you, but it's not obvious to the other person, that in that extra mile, there may be no traffic jam. So I would want to, even as we focus about the client, to also see how we can always go the extra mile. And it feels good for the patient to see some responsiveness. And so this is the reality. We can't avoid it. There are people who are difficult. They have all those issues to deal with. I also want to say that in regards to complaints and challenges in customer relations generally, that when there are complaints, only 4% of clients will formally complain. Others will not. And those who will not complain, out of the 96%, those who will not complain will tell over 20 people about how unhappy they were. Wow. So imagine. So bad word goes round. Bad news goes faster. And as we look at that, then we realize that it's not all lost, because 7 out of 10 clients, out of those who have gone complaining, and telling the 20 people, if they complain and their issues are resolved in their favor, in their favor in quotes, because at times it's not even in their favor, but we'll see it's about communication, and that was dealt with very in detail yesterday. 7 out of those 10 customers will come back and continue a relationship if their issue has been resolved in their favor. And therefore, it calls for us then to see how we can then work so hard so that our clients can evaluate us positively, so that we also look at what the expectations are when they are faced with these challenges. We've already looked at some of the aspects, and then we can see then how as caregivers can navigate these challenges. It calls for a lot of sacrifice. It calls for us to go the extra mile, but it's doable. I also like saying that your customers don't care what you know until they know you care. And how, what a better place to put this in, like in the healthcare context, because they have come for the actual care, the physical care, but how about the social well-being, the mental well-being? Just that aspect of showing them, just aspect of reaching out to their emotions and calming them down really means a lot to them. What are their expectations? What are the client's expectations? Of course, there are those needs that are relating to the complaints. Why are they complaining? Do they understand? Do they have problems? Do they have problems? Do they have fears? Are they uncertain about certain things? They want to have your concern dealt with as quickly and fairly and properly. So that is about justice, justice, the real justice. Also, they would also expect us to be given what they have been denied. Probably you have denied me, what I thought I need. How can we reach a balance? They would also want the action taken to rectify the problem or to address the concern. What are their needs as individuals? They also want to be heard. And we go on to look at the expectations of a client. I want to emphasize here that our clients do not as much value our products or our services as much as they value the good feelings and the solutions to their problems. And their problems, the solutions that you give them, and the solutions that you, the good feelings that you give them are more emotional than logical. So we take care of the emotions first. We take care of that need, and then you then go to the actual solution, the technical problem, the technical solution. So we want to see a situation where we can then identify their potential sources of discomfort and have a well thought out complaint management plan. I do not want to delve much on that because that I believe it will be dealt with by my other colleagues in this. But I want us to reiterate the fact that it is the needs that are more emotional, the emotional needs of the client that we really need to be concerned about more than the logic, so that now we can form a partnership and be able to provide solutions and to be able to have them get happy and satisfied. So a client expects basically, the basic needs are to feel welcome. They want to be understood. They want to feel comfortable because they are already uncomfortable in their ailment, in their infirmity. So we can how can we work towards making them as comfortable as possible? We also want to feel appreciated. They want to feel important. That all is not lost. They also want to feel respected. So all these are very basic needs of our client. And as we interact with them, as we look at the complex, then we can look at these as the critical needs that we can address even as we look at we see how we can come to an understanding with our clients. And then how do our clients evaluate us? We've already seen from their perspective. How then can we get to a point where we are in agreement? How do they evaluate us? What is it that is required of us? Our clients will evaluate us based on we will evaluate us on certain things. And that is where they will base their expectations from us as the caregivers. I'm putting myself then I'm putting myself then as the caregiver. The clients will want you to be reliable. They value your reliability. They value your assurance. You value your empathy, which I've already brought out when I've referred to the emotions. Responsiveness. I said their needs are very, very critical to them. They are very important to them and to those who have accompanied them. How are we responsive? Are we just ignoring them? And also the targets. Looking at responsiveness, are we willing to assist our clients? Are we showing them that welcome? Are we appreciating them? Are we giving them prompt service? Because this is what they require. It may not be immediate. It is not, the press of a button. But are we giving them that hope? Then are we able to resolve their problems quickly, in their own context? And if it's not doable, are we able to explain to them? Are we able to break it down to their level so that they can understand? Our clients will also evaluate us based on reliability. Reliability in the sense of how do we perform? Do we live to our promises? Are we making fake promises or are we living up to it? Are we dependable? Are we accurate? Are we proactive? So a client will base you, they are weighing you so that you can be able then to reach a way where you have a win-win, where you have one as an institute, as a caregiver, and they have also one as a client. They really value you being reliable. A client will also evaluate you based on your assurance. How are you assuring this client that all is well? How are you assuring them that this problem may look like an elephant, but it's not this big? I mean, we can tackle it down. How do you have the listening skills? This is very, very critical in customer relations, and more so now for a client who is in distress. Do they have the trust and confidence in you? I said as we started that at that moment, there is no trust for anyone. But can we at least get to a point where we are trusting one another, where there is some confidence in me? I can at least value, I can at least see we are making some progress. Do you have the required skills and the knowledge? Yeah, are you competent enough? And more than anything else, how are you portraying that? Are you giving them that hope? Are you able to address their concerns, their questions? Of course, it's not that we have all the answers, but are we giving them that hope? Because there are also times that you even have to escalate this. Our clients will also evaluate us based on how empathetic we are, or how we are caring for them. Are we individualizing this attention? Are we available when they need us most? And this is why I want to say that for us to have this and for us to have that relationship where we are empathetic, we need to listen more. We need to have been able to establish a rapport for you to be able to hear where it pains most, to get into their shoes and see exactly where they would want to be. And of course, lastly, there is the quality, the tangibility of the whole issue. It is what can be seen or felt. But those are the things they may take time to create a relationship. But what is it that they can see? What can they feel? The physical facility, the equipment. If they've come for something that requires equipment, is it there? Is there? Do we have enough staff to take care of those needs? And therefore, looking at all those 5 aspects of the client, how our clients evaluate us, then we'll be able to have a relationship, a partnership, then where we can now be able to, give that shift of the initially when they came to us and they couldn't trust us, then we can now start affecting their perceptions, and then we can reach a balance and we can reach a solution, and they can feel that they have their concerns have been addressed, or at least they are valued. How will we manage the complaints? How can we manage those complaints? It is not complaints are in many forms, and I believe the other speakers will dwell more on this. But I want to emphasize on the fact that even as you're forming this partnership, it's important that we acknowledge the complaint. What is it that our clients are complaining about? Are we able to assess this complaint? It may be very, very huge to them, but maybe it's not. Have we been able to go to the depth of it? Have we been able to make records of this complaint? Have we gotten all the facts right? How are we responding to the complaint? We have looked and seen how our clients evaluate us. How are we responsive? And how are we following up so that we can reach the end of it and have a solution? More to this than just that process. How can we deal with? How can we manage the complaints by patients? Without looking at without dwelling much on the technical process. We need to listen more, listen, and listen again. We need to build rapport through empathy. We need to be as approachable as possible. We need to control our own emotions. I know there are times when, because of them being unreasonable, because of being maybe on very emotional, it can get to a point where maybe they are accusing tones. Are we able to manage our own emotions? Can we lower our voice and maintain our own cool so that we can get some objectivity in the whole issue? Are we able to ask questions to get clarification? Because some of those complaints require you to go back and really see what is it, what led to it, and what do we need to do so that we can address it effectively. Are we able to respond professionally? We need to also be able to recognize any underlying factors. Like I've said, there is much more than just the being unwell. Yeah, there's much more. What is the underlying factor? Could there be a buildup of stress? How can we manage that? How can we be empathetic to them? And of course, we also need to be able to summarize key points in the negotiation. By listening actively, then you are able to get where the client feels, what is it that they feel, and where you can, and how you are able to get some direction. At this point, I also want to also talk about the complaints that are brought by those who accompany our clients. Sometimes they may come independently, or they may come accompanied by the patients. How do we deal with them? We need to also be, just like I've said about the clients, we need to be as approachable as possible. Yeah, from their point of view, they want to see at least they are being listened to. It's good if they are together and maybe whatever they are discussing is something very, very sensitive. We need to be able to hold the discussion away from the noise and bustle, and probably so that you can reach some agreement, or at least you can be able to hear them out. Assess whether it is necessary for the patient to be present, if in the event where it is a very delicate issue that requires maybe somebody to, the patient not to overhear, because it may be very important. It may be very disastrous for them. And so you're looking at that situation. Do you want the patient to hear, or do you want them to be part of the discussion? And of course, in the case it escalates, you need to also be able to inform other colleagues, because you're talking about teams. You need support. Our presenters yesterday talked about a case where patients can get violent, and I like the way it was handled, that this may involve other team members. You may need support, you may need security, you may need also probably just being able to take care of the stress that has brought them to that level. So that is very important to also take note of, that you're not just dealing with the complaints by our patients, but you're also looking at those who may be their caregivers beyond the hospital visit, and maybe who will also take care of their bills. I also want to look at some of the deadly sins we should avoid in complaint management. And I want to give 10 things that we should say is a no when it comes to complaint management. Sin number one is apathy. And apathy being lack of interest, appreciation, or concern. We've already seen what their needs are, more emotions. So apathy then in this case is a no. We don't want to label the client's behavior. That's in number two. Remember, it's not directed to you. So do not separate. You should be able to separate the complaint from the person. So don't label the client. It is the complaint which has been associated by the situation. Sin number three is brushing off, ignoring complaints, dismissing, probably it's too much for you, so you ignore the complaints. What does that do to the client? Sin number four is coldness, having an attitude or taking matters personally, looking at it is a direct attack for you, while it is not the case. Arrogance, displaying of anger. It's a sin number five. Sin number six is being defensive, and all these things, and you can see they are related. They are all related. Becoming defensive, instead of addressing the issue, you're becoming defensive, and that's not positive to providing solutions. And another sin is being mechanical, robotic. You don't really care. We say it's very important that you break it to the customer, to the client's level. So when you're mechanical, you're not doing things, you're not even talking to them. It's like you're dealing with a human being. That's a no. Then the sin number 8 is inflexibility to the processes, to the complaints, to the solutions. You really need to be able to involve our clients in the process, and that was dealt with in detail yesterday in matters communication. And the sin number 8 is giving the clients a runaround. You give them fake information, or you tell them things that would not take place, so that for them to get off the hook. That is a sin and should not be entertained. And the last sin is a failure to follow up. You started a process together. You're in a partnership. Ensure that it goes up to the end. And I'm going to say that with all this, then we are able to make every interaction count, even the small ones. They are all relevant. It is those little things that we may think that they are very relevant, that really count a lot to the clients. And therefore, we have a responsibility and a role in making the patient feel comfortable and at ease. And this looks like it's a lot because our value for customers is very wide. Therefore, can I do it alone? Can you do it alone? No, you not do it alone. All of the aspects, all the corners, all the departments in the hospital, in KNH, are very, very important to the client's well-being. And that is why we need to work together as a team. We need to handle complaints together, and we need to be positive about it. And therefore, I want to say, how do we react to customers' complaints? Do we view complaints as opportunities? And are we concerned about upholding or denting the institute's reputation? So it is how we respond. It is how we view complaints. It is how we intend to make a new beginning, because we've already started a journey on behavior change. We've already started a journey on communication. We've already started this engagement with the client, which is a very, very important aspect in any institution. And therefore, I'll say your well-being really counts. It's a team effort, and you ought to be able to take care of one another. Whenever I take groups, whenever I take in the training, I always tell people, it's good to work together. It's good to be able to hold the other person's balloon. And when you see like their balloon is deflating, please pick their balloon and go pick your balloon and go and take it to them. Because stress can also create conflicts emanating from unaddressed stress. Because as you're the caregiver who is maybe having to deal with 50 or more of negative clients, that negativity will get to you. And so that regular exposure to the pain, to the discomfort, to the long-term suffering can also impact negatively on you and your own well-being, your psychosocial well-being. So it's very, very important that you take care of one another. It's good to also have regular debriefs and stress management sessions as a critical measure to mitigate the complaints and escalating of difficult cases. So even as you're taking care of one another, let's learn to unwind, let's learn to share, let's learn to talk to one another. Let's learn to hold hands so that our client can be happy and our client can be sorted and we can engage our client in every way. So I've said starting together is a beginning, coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, and working together is success. And when I'm looking at this, I'm talking about from management to the lowest of work. It's our responsibility to take care of the clients. It's our responsibility to engage our clients. And once we do that, we shall go very far and our clients will be happy. And we have been recipients of KNH services. And I can say it's been a very great experience. And I speak this with a lot of passion because we have seen a lot of engagement. I personally, I'm a client in the dental department for very, very many years, and I have been engaged through all the challenges, through all the, all the times that I have been there, and I'm a happy client. And I say this from the deepest part of my heart. So as I end this presentation, allow me to say that we can do it, and let us continue engaging our clients. Let us continue giving our best. It is doable, and let the spirit, the journey of engaging clients not end here, but just be a beginning. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that elaborate presentation, Annabelle. Indeed, you've set the ground for communication and how we need to effectively handle complaint management. One of the very important things to say is only about 4% of our clients who complain, and the ones who don't complain are actually the ones who should be concerned about, because they're going and just give the negative feedback without to our other customers, our other clients, without us getting to know what exactly is the issue. So thank you so much for that. Right now, I'd like to invite Judy Machuka. She's one of our psychologists here in Kenyatta National Hospital, and she has a guest with her. She'll introduce her guest, and they'll just have a brief session whereby we are going to get a real feedback from one of our clients, in Kenyatta National Hospital before we go to the other presentations. Karibu, Judy.
Thank you very much, Dr. Karingo. We have with us a young caregiver of a patient who received services at Kenyatta National Hospital, and she will be sharing the experience of the family while the patient was undergoing care at the hospital. Welcome, our guests. Thank you for joining us. I would now like to invite you to briefly share your experience with your patient at the hospital. Welcome.
Thank you very much for inviting me to share my experience. My patient was my mother. She was our only caregiver after my parents had separated when I was very young. I am 23 years old, and I had just completed my diploma last month. My eldest sister is 25 years old and a young mother and unemployed. My younger sister is 15 years old and currently in class 8. Our mother struggled to raise us on casual employment. We do not have a strong support system for the family. When our mother fell ill in November last year, we brought her to KNH Doctor's Plaza for treatment. A CT scan showed that she had obstructive jaundice. She continued treatment at the main hospital as an outpatient because we had limited finances. During each clinic, she would see a different doctor who will give a different opinion on the management and her treatment. After some time, her condition deteriorated and she was admitted on the 12th of December. She was to have a biliary drainage, and we were required to pay 100,000 before the procedure could be done. We managed to raise part of the money and received help from the Patients Affairs Department to reschedule the procedure until we could pay the amount in full. After the rescheduling of the date of the procedure, a PTC was recommended before the real procedure could be done. And we actually struggled so much to get the money, for the money to be in full to 100,000. We had to borrow money from people, from well-wishers. During her stay in the ward, our mother was in great pain and had to manage her treatment, including emptying her bile flow. In January this year, we were called to the hospital that our mother had stage 4 cancer of the cervix and that we needed to pay an additional 32,000 for the doctors to manage the obstructive jaundice, because as they said, the cancer could not actually be treated. So we had to pay that 2,000 for an additional procedure. During this time, during her stay in the ward, this was not possible. We later received help from the patient's affairs for relevant documents to be signed for the 2 tests to be done. The signing took a long period of time of 2 weeks, and on the day our mother died, that was when the papers were actually signed for the procedures to be done. Prior to our mother's death, she was critically ill, fastened to her bed with minimal intervention. We were called the following day to receive information about her death. We waited for 3 hours for the death summary to be completed, which showed that she had actually died of obstructive jaundice. We did not receive clear information and concealed regarding her condition. The hospital bill was around 300,000. We received a conditional waiver after 3 weeks. After paying 30,000 and buried our mother on the 10th February, we are still required to pay 3,000 every month to cover half of the bill, and we are not able to raise the money.
Thank you so much for boldly and also passionately sharing your experience with us. I would ask you to tell us a little bit more about your feelings regarding what the hospital did for your patient and where the hospital could have done more. Welcome.
I'm grateful that some healthcare workers patiently attended to our mom during the stay in the ward. Our mom specifically acknowledged a nurse at this time when she was still in the ward. We are also thankful for the intervention of the Patient Affairs Department to speed up certain processes. Although we have a high opinion of the services offered at KNH, we feel sad that our mother's diagnosis and management plan was not made clear to us. We were also stressed by the delays in different important processes. We are now burdened with huge costs that are beyond our capacity to bear as unemployed youths, caregivers of our late mother. We request consideration for our case so that we may continue with our lives in peace. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for sharing. I hand over to Dr. Kiringo.
Thanks for that, Judy, and thanks our guest for just giving a brief experience on her relatives' care, her mom's care in the hospital, and some of the things that that have really come out is the multiple factors that can affect our patients, and some of those soft skills that really help in patient care. For example, one of the things that she has mentioned a lot is about getting the information on her mother's care, getting the management plan. You are not able to get that maybe in good time. Just getting the information on that and communicating also the various things that were hindering care, for example, the financial access. And so these are some of the things that we'll be asking. And then as our next presenters come, they'll be discussing more on how are we able to engage more with our clients so that we can get this feedback and our clients can be able to get safe and quality care. Up next, we'll have Ms. Elizabeth Wamoya. Ms. Elizabeth Wamoya Karibu, you can come up next and take over. Thanks. Hello.
Hello.
You are able to share your slides from this side. Will you be able to share?
That's okay. Thank you. Sorry, it was not unmuting, so we can
Okay.
That's okay. So maybe we can just go through that. So thank you so much. That was a very elaborate presentation, and maybe now for me is just to delve in a bit of the day-to-day complaints that we get in various facilities. I think it's important for us to realize that from way back, it was almost automatic for anyone who was sick to go to any of our hospitals, Kenyatta, Mpisha, Nairobi, name it. However, with time, we realized that there are very many facilities that are coming up, and they're building up on making sure that the patient experience is better. So if we do not watch out and we do not take proper precautions, we'll realize that most of the patients will not come to us. Another thing that I must appreciate is that for a very long time in healthcare, the communication between the patient and the hospital was always the accounts department. But nowadays, we've seen that there's quite been some good improvement and introduction of what you call the corporate communications department or customer care department in various health facilities that cut across from both private and public. So this in turn actually has been able to help mitigate internal complaints that may arise. So I'll just go over to the first slide. Still in line. Excellent. So these are the facts. 1, inadequate problem management is a widespread practice in healthcare and mostly can come about because of lack of staff training or even inability to be able to know how to handle one or two things. Then unfortunately, we tend to demonize complainers. I know whenever we have that very difficult client, the first thing you want to do is, how can we just get him or her out of there? Then indeed, although complaints make a hospital look bad, they actually help us to detect flaws and to improve the quality of products. How would we improve upon if we do not have feedback? We can move a bit. Let's see. You can move the slide a bit, please. Yes, that's okay. So what are some of the factors that can enable the staff to resolve issues? The responsibility of effectively handling customer complaints. How well have we been able to give mandate to equip our junior staff on how to handle issues, be it day, be it night? Number 2, how have we been able to empower each and every department to be able to make a decision? We know most of the times you'll hear that I cannot do this because so and so is not there. But at that particular time, what can be done to mitigate that particular issue? And finally, availability of the procedure that guides them through the process. Is there a defined process in our facilities? Ways of how do you be able to, how can you be able, who is a point person to receive the complaint? How assured are you that it will be dealt upon with? Over to the next slide. To the next, thank you. So what are the 5 common patient complaints in healthcare? And actually this cuts across in every hospital. We have the long turnaround times in waiting areas. Then we have also, we as staff, how do we relate to our patients? Are we rude? Are we making a service availability to become an issue? Then the amount spent at the doctor's room, and once again, that one sometimes can be inevitable, but are we taking measures to even go ahead and explain why maybe the queue is too long, right? Or even give the patient other options? Then the issue, insurance and billing. We must attest that we have two folds of clients, the insurance and the cash payers. Now, the insurance being a key stakeholder, NHIF and other insurance companies, if we are not in good books with them, it becomes also very difficult, one, for referral of patients, and in turn, also payment becomes also an issue. Then also lack of communication and dismissiveness. How well are we handling our clients? What measures have we put in place to be able to sort out of the same? The next slide, please. So in patient management, we need to have a proper flow, or rather a proper process. As an institution, do you have an area where you're able to collect the complaints? We all are cognizant that you cannot make any decision without data. Data we can never guess. We cannot go by hearsay. We need to know what percentage of clients are complaining about turnaround time, maybe at the pharmacy. What percentage of patients are complaining about turnaround time, maybe on discharge? We need to have a proper area of collecting. It could be maybe the use of the suggestion boxes. It could be maybe those who have got systems of maybe using some type of technology, but whatever method is there, we should be able to have the adequate data on the same. Apart from collecting, we need to go ahead and analyze this data. And in this part, you know that we are going to involve each and every department that has been, or rather has to maybe try and mitigate the particular issue that has come about. And apart from analyzing, we need to know who is to action upon the information, or rather the complaint that has been given or has come to us. So once again, that very key department, the corporate communication that maybe takes care of client relations and all, is there a team in place that is able to receive, disseminate, and action upon? I think that is also for us ourselves to look at it internally in our facilities. Over to the next slide, please. So patient delight. What do our patients want? What, at the end of the day, apart from them coming and seeing the best doctor, the best nurse, and getting great outcomes, what is this that would make their lives easier? I guess now, even in this era of technology, it is for us as health facilities to really up our game in terms of its utilization. We must appreciate that now a larger percentage of people are now tech savvy, and are also appreciating that it can go ahead and do quite a lot for them. How are we doing their appointments? Are our clients informed that they can just walk in, or do they need to call? You can imagine if a patient is coming all the way from Mandera in for a particular clinic and comes and has no information and is told, in fact, the doctor is not in. How have we inconvenienced this patient? So over to having interactive booking the same way. Are we able to give guidance on how to make life easier for them to plan? Information collection. If it is results, all of us know that when you go to hospital and you've given out that sample, whether it is histology or a blood work that has to take some time, none of us are at peace. So you can imagine if we are there and we've taken over a month and not given any information to our esteemed client, that in itself leaves them very distressed. How can we be able to enhance proper communication in each and every department? I think we can move a bit again over. Yes, thank you. Then, of course, the response time. All of us fall guilty because how many times do you receive that email? That is a query. Even that phone call and we say, I will call you back later. That email, which you maybe disregard. A client will appreciate when you say, this and this is possible. Dr. AY is available. Communication. We really need to be able to enhance that. In terms of pricing and transparency, just as our dear friend has shared about the bill and what they went through in terms with their mom in hospital, you can imagine how lovely it would be if we all equipped our patients with information that for point A to B, for this particular bit, you need to utilize maybe 5,000 shillings so they can be able to pre-plan. We must appreciate that this particular point of so much social economical distress, if we can be able to give information to our clients, to our patients, they even will be more loyal to us because they know that we are available and we shall give information. People want transparency. Number 7, information sharing. Their receipts, back to the insurance, our NHIF and other stakeholders, when we are able to give proper billing, when we are able to give proper estimate and of course proper care, in terms of referrals, it becomes very easy to be able to get the same. And in turn, we shall be able to have a proper working relationship. Let us not forget empathy. My dear colleague has even emphasized that in everything that we are doing. I know this is quite stressful, dealing with so many patients each and every day, but I think also when we also have our own self-care, whether it is counseling, time for ourselves, we are able to be in touch with ourselves, and in turn, we are able to give proper care to our patients. And finally, on service level, do we ask for feedback? Do we do any surveys? We need to be able to use the same type of technology to enable us know where we are at. Gone are the days where we'd be like, we are the best. As I have earlier alluded, there's competition each and every day. And at the end of the day, we are here for the community. We are here to ensure that everyone is healthy, that no one should lose their life because of matters that maybe would have gotten some earlier mitigation. And at the end of it, I believe all of us will be a happy people. And I must say that if I look at our theme for this year, I like the bit about stakeholder engagement. Gone are the days of us looking at facilities of facility A is better than B. I think it is time for us also to continue interacting. Let's encourage the visits, right? Come over, let us sit, let us reason. Let us see at the end of the day, how can we make the patient process beneficial so that at the end of the day, when the patients come to us and when they are happy, we know at the end of the day, we ourselves will have our own internal peace. I think we can go over to the next slide. Yes, finally, stay safe, stay healthy. This is quite a broad discussion. I know it will need us to touch on various departments, but at the end of the day, all of us know where our gaps are at. And where our gaps are at, we as leaders, how can we be able to work with each other, each department, so that we can be able to close the gap? So I think for me, I'll come to the end of the discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that. For that, Ms. Elizabeth Wamwea, who's taken us through a very informative session on the complaints. And one of the very key things she talks about is how we use the data that we get on complaints. How do we collect our data? How do we use that for our good and for the good of our patients? And even some of the common complaints that we get, things like the long turnaround time. No one likes to wait at any place. So things like the long turnaround time, the issues to do with staff, how we relate with our patients, insurance and billing issues like we have heard from our patients, lack of communication, and lack of communication to our patients on this specific aspect. So thank you very much for that. We are now going to go over to our final presentation, and it's my pleasure to welcome Mr. Peter Maina, who is from Kenyatta National Hospital, from the communications department, marketing and communication department, and he'll be able to give us even further insights on this, and even specifically now in relation to our institution here. Karibu sana, Mr. Peter. Mr. Peter Maura. You are on mute. I'm not sure if you're able to hear us. Mr. Peter Maura, are you able to get us? You're on mute. As we await for Mr. Maura to come on board, we continue to receive your feedback on the session, your questions and your comments. We're having here very important and sensitive information. One person comments that it's a very important and sensitive information. Thank you for that. Indeed, it's never a comfortable conversation talking about some of these things and some of the areas we need to improve on. The other question that we may answer for now is Annabelle. Annabelle, if you can help us explain further on how to do maybe just briefly a debrief session in stress management, one of the areas that you talked about.
Thank you, Agnes. I can respond to that by saying what I meant when I brought in the aspect of debrief, what I meant is that it's easy for the negative energy from the patients to get to us, and this can even lead to conflicts with the same amongst ourselves and even with the clients because of those addressed needs. So it's very important that we get to debrief. And by debrief, what I mean in the sense is just, like coming together and being able to talk about the experiences, even if it's a team level. You can just come to whenever you have team meetings, just debrief is talking about just going over the experience and how it was like for you and what it looks like probably in view of others. And so debrief involves just sharing with colleagues, with one another. And of course, when you talk about stress management levels, now that can be provided by experts. And I believe you have a counseling department, and where people would also want to outsource, we are available for that. We have a counseling center at 85 Riverside. You can also be contacted. By what I mean by this is what I meant by that is by people can come together and just have debriefs, talk about how it was like, share with one another, so that this negative energy does not get to also affect your well-being, your psychosocial well-being. And it's very important, because what you're dealing with on a daily basis is a lot of negative energy, is a lot of maybe heavy issues that require you to go the extra mile, require you to go deeper into your own emotions. And so sharing with others those sessions, how does it look? How does the world look? How do we deal with this client is very, very important. And if this is done regularly, it is very, very healthy for the team. And that's why as I ended this, I said it's very good that we know that this is only it works well when it's at team. When we all take part as team members, we assist one another, and it will get better. The systems will get better. Our well-being and that of the patient will be addressed effectively. Thank you very much, Agnes.
Thank you very much for that. Let me see if we're able to get on to our next presentation. Mr. Peter Maura.
Yes, I can hear you.
Karibu sana. We can now go into our presentation. You can set
screen. Thank you very much. Allow me to share my screen. Well, this one. This one. This one. No, this one. That one. Yes. Will you share? Share. Haka pa kushare. Tumesha share. Okay. Good evening. I want to believe that you're able to view my screen.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. You can go ahead. You can introduce yourself first. Go ahead with the presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Peter Maura Gidua. I am working in the Marketing and Communications Department, and I am the one who is going to do this presentation, and will basically be insisting on areas to do with how we handle customer complaints. And I will be giving 2 examples or 3, because I realize that some of the issues that I would have discussed in my presentation have already been highlighted, and therefore I may not necessarily need to go through them again. Therefore, in my presentation, I might skip several slides, but I will be insisting on a few things. So kindly, let's agree on that, and I will not take a lot of time anyway. I think these are some of the things that have been shared majorly. Therefore, allow me to begin by that presentation, that slide on complaints and service delivery framework. And now all of us will agree that the Constitution of Kenya has actually given citizens the rights to, in fact, be able to demand quality service and prompt services anywhere, especially in the government institutions. In Article 46, the Constitution says that consumers have a right to goods and services of reasonable quality, and every person has the right to quality services, including those from the government. And all of us will agree that Kenyatta National Hospital is a government facility, and to that extent, then our clients will, by right, demand quality services. And that would mean that Wanjiku has a legitimate expectation on implementation of service charters. And if she is not happy, then she is empowered through a commission on administrative justice that will come in to also look at the issues that probably would have been raised. Now, it goes ahead and states that in Article 47, that every person has the right to administrative action that is expeditious, efficient, lawful, reasonable, and procedurally fair. And if a right or fundamental freedom of a person has been or is likely to be affected by administrative action, the person has the right to be given reasons, written reasons for the action. And I want to emphasize on that part of written reasons for the action. And efficient administration is now a constitutional requirement. If you look at the Kenya Vision 2030, it talks about improvement of service delivery, which is a recurrent theme throughout the Vision 2030. And guiding principle number 7 does provide for public participation in governance. It accords citizens the right to complain to public institutions and authorities and get satisfactory responses. Now, complaints handling mechanisms should be emphasized. Use of customer feedback registers, resolution and feedback, or communication to customers is expected. I want us to, that is a service delivery charter. I will not be opening the charter itself, but basically we all are familiar with the service delivery charter, which is document that we have strategically placed in various strategic positions and points in the hospital, and which basically does outline our services, the speed of service, that is the turnaround time, the expected user charge, all those are highlighted in that service delivery charter. And that document then becomes one of the very documents that we need to always reflect on, even as we give services to customers. It is from that document that majorly we are receiving complaints, because nowadays the type of customers that we are getting are people who are informed and are well able to read that document and demand that they be served as we have highlighted in that document. And I am aware that all the departments have their departmental service delivery charters. Again, we all need to ensure that we offer services in line with what we have promised to the customers. Now, I will not be discussing about why it matters in healthcare, because I realized it was discussed somehow, but customer service, I would say, is the art or skill or understanding or knowledge that enables the service provider to anticipate and satisfy the needs of the customer in a consistent and dependable manner. Allow me to go back to that part where I talked about complaints handling mechanisms, and that is where I want to probably have a discussion. At Kenyatta National Hospital, we have a framework or an infrastructure that allows customers to air their grievances and give us feedback. And we have that guideline, which is given to us by the Commission on Administrative Justice. Again, this is a constitutional requirement, and the hospital is expected to ensure that all feedback that we receive from clients, that feedback would come either externally or it would be internal. Externally, I mean that even organizations can complain, bloggers, people outside there online, they can raise issues that they would need to be addressed by the hospital. And even the Commission on Administrative Justice itself, we have received some complaints from them, which have been, when they come to the hospital, they definitely will land in the Chief Executive Officer's office, and he will be expected then to provide sufficient responses to those kinds of complaints. Now, once they arrive there, of course, the CEO may not necessarily go to handle the issues themselves. Therefore, this department, Marketing and Communications Department, will be charged with that responsibility to investigate and to find out actually what would have happened. And we know, some of us are aware, and those who may not be aware, is that for any kind of complaint, all feedback expected, we are expected to acknowledge it within 3 working days. That is to communicate to the complainant or the person giving us that feedback that actually we have received the feedback and that we are dealing with it. Within 14 working days, we will be expected to have completed all that needs to be done, the investigation and all that, and then give a feedback. Now, in the hospital, majorly we deal with the complaints that are generated from our service, our various departments and service points, and we have provided customer feedback registers, which are available in all the departments, and that is where we receive some of this feedback. And it is expected that each and every department has a committee that then is charged with the responsibility of monitoring what is being documented in that register and resolving those issues at their level. However, we all know that there are some feedback that is not necessarily raised by customers at the service point, and they may end up being raised at the customer service desks that are again provided for customers to be able to express themselves. And some feedback would also come to us online. It could be Facebook, it could be our website, it could be through our Twitter or through our YouTube. We can receive feedback. And once we receive that feedback as a department, we immediately acknowledge it, and we begin the process of investigating what could have happened so that we are able to give feedback to the customer. Now, in the customer satisfaction and compliments management tool, which is a standard tool that we use in the hospital to document all this feedback, we will need to take details of the date when that complaint was raised. We will again be expected to capture the name of the client and their contacts. Then if it's a compliment we'll register it as a compliment. If it is a complaint, then we will register it as a complaint. The next step would be to assess or to do a finding. And that is when we will visit the department where the customer would have been served, and we will engage with the team leaders or the senior officers in that department, or actually the person who would have served the customer himself, so that we are able to find out what could have gone wrong or why the client feels that they need to raise that as a complaint. Then, of course, we will, together now with the team leaders, be able to state the problem and actually take an action. Then the major action that we would take at that moment is actually to calm down the patient or the client and ensure that we explain to them what would have happened and how best we are going to resolve that. Then we will also probably highlight a recommendation so that in future we do not find ourselves again dealing with the same issues all the time. And that is majorly what we will do. And after all this feedback has been captured, then all departments are expected to submit their quarterly feedback reports to marketing and communications. And together with the reports that we also have received, we will then be able to compile a report that will be submitted, and it is expected to be submitted quarterly to the Commission on Administrative Justice. And that report will be signed by the CEO so that it is then submitted to the Commission, because that would be a non-conformity if we never did that. And therefore, to us, complaints and all these feedback issues are very serious issues that we encourage and actually ask our colleagues to look at them positively as opportunities for us to improve on our service delivery. Those would be the highlights, but before I probably conclude this conversation, I want to share with you two examples of compliments that we have handled and how we handled them, so that we can actually appreciate that feedback is very important for us. On 18th of November 2020, a customer by the name Caroline Akoth Ondegu, I have captured his mobile number. Her mobile number is captured and the IP number. Now, the patient complained that someone who is a staff had mishandled her outside National Bank, where she was seated waiting for her husband to come and pick her. The complaint was that the staff actually did touch her on the shoulder and asked her how she was doing and whether there was any need for help. Now, with these COVID times, that to the customer was not ethical, and it was not good conduct, and she felt that her social distance rights had been violated and that she was exposed unnecessarily by that staff. And therefore, she did raise that as a complaint. Now, once that complaint was received, it was documented. That is why I'm able to refer to it. And we went to the department where the staff was working, and we did discuss that matter with the head of that unit. And we, together with the client, then we were able to summon the client to be with us. And we actually had a discussion over the same, and we had to apologize to the customer for that kind of an experience. And we did also acknowledge that complaint by also writing to her an email apologizing and actually reassuring the customer that if in case she feels that there is need for her to visit us for any reason whatsoever, including a reason that would have been as a result of being touched, then we did actually extend a hand of welcome and actually assured her that we would take care of her. So that is one complaint that we received, and we were able to resolve it that way. And recently, there is another complaint that we handled at clinic number 22. Again, a customer by the name Susan. She felt the doctor did stigmatize her. Why did she say that? She had brought her child, and last year, around the month of December, the child had been tested for COVID, and the results were available. But when they went into the doctor's room, it is at that moment that the doctor then asked them about the status, and the patient was coughing a lot. And when the mother now disclosed that, in fact, a COVID test had been done, then the doctor at that moment, I don't know whether she got some shock or what happened to her, she started shouting to the mother, why did you not tell us, all that, all these kind of things. And now the child was there, and the doctor went out of the room, went through the corridor complaining that the nurses had also not done their due diligence during triage. And that then was something that the public would have necessarily got interested in. And to that extent, the customer felt that her child was stigmatized. And therefore she raised that with us as a complaint. What did we do? We went to the clinic itself, we called the in charge of the clinic, and we did investigate. And actually we found that the facts were true as raised by the complainant. So, and the complainant actually had come all the way even to the CEO's office to raise that complaint. Therefore, the complaint came to the marketing department from the CEO's office where the customer had complained. And therefore, we did our investigations and we were able to establish the facts. The customer did demand for justice. That is something that is we couldn't take lightly, and we don't take lightly any feedback whatsoever. And therefore, we called the customer through the number that she had provided. We had a conversation with her. The doctor was apologetic and actually said that if a forum would be created so that she could apologize personally to the client, that would be good enough. But again, the complainant didn't feel that she would want to have that kind of a forum. And therefore, we did again apologize to her. We wrote an email to her as a hospital and apologizing for that kind of experience, and actually did again reassure her that she can still come and receive services. The complainant was satisfied with that, feedback, and that is how we resolved that matter. I wanted to highlight those two examples just to let you have a feel of what we do and how we handle those things. And for me is now to probably to actually emphasize that at the point of service delivery, someone did talk about communication, and those are the issues. We are not giving sufficient communication that the customers are able to actually internalize and plan for their next visits or next procedures. And therefore, our communication and the kind of information we are giving is too scanty. Sometimes it is too medical. The customers are not even able to consume that information. And therefore, those major complaints are arising from our communication skills. Therefore, for us, we would want to insist that we need to communicate effectively and be intentional in that communication, and actually not to be in a hurry to communicate to customers on the plans that we are having and all that. I want to end my conversation at that point because majorly I would have wanted to deal with those issues of how we handle complaints, and say that we are glad for giving us this opportunity and this moment and time to share with you what we are doing and how we are doing it and what is expected for all of us to do in complaints handling in service delivery in the hospital. Unless there is any question, I want to end my presentation at that point and say thank you very much once again.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gizua, for that presentation, for that elaborate presentation. They've actually given us the practical bit of how complaints can be handled and the steps even that the Kenyatta National Hospital at the marketing and communications department, how we're able to handle that. We really appreciate the steps that have been taken. And just to mention that even for the clinical complaints, we have the patient affairs unit in healthcare quality that works hand in hand with the marketing department to handle some of the issues that are clinically related, some of the complaints that come in which are on the clinically, which are on the clinical side. So we really appreciate some of those practical steps that our institution is taking, and even the other institutions, we should have a feedback mechanism to be able to get feedback on the services that you deliver. For now, we are coming towards the end of this session, and really appreciate our participants for staying with us. We do have some questions, just a few questions with us that we'll handle as we come to an end. One question to you, Elizabeth Wamwea, is in regards to expectations. One of the things we talked about was expectations. So how do we handle clients who have unrealistic expectations on some of the aspects, for example, on friendliness? How do we handle unrealistic expectations, unrealistic expectations in our service delivery?
Yeah, thank you. Okay. First of all, our clients need to know if there's a question, if there's an inquiry, who can assist. When our patients are well informed, then they are aware of the timeframes that will take place. Of course, all of the clients would want to see us smiling the whole day. And I think I've just seen one of the comments from the chat boxes. It may be impossible for us to permanently smile for 12 hours. However, it becomes a habit when we at least are able to handle each and every client individually as per the need. So once again, it boils down to communication. If there's an issue that needs like immediate help, maybe the patient needs to get to know whether the results are ready, we should be able to channel them appropriately to the person who is responsible. It's communication. Our patients are more at peace when we speak to them and when we keep our word. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So Annabelle, can you just add on a bit on how do we talk? How can we communicate with our workers? In this question, can we talk about the clinic administrators manning the private clinic? They can send our potential clients away. And how I want to reframe this question is, as who are giving service providers, how are we able to be helped to give the best care to our clients?
Agnes, you broke a bit. I didn't hear the question well, please.
Sorry about that. Are you able to get me now?
You are listening. I was hearing the question.
Okay.
So please repeat the question.
The question is a comment and a question. Can you talk about our clinic administrators manning our private clinics? They can send our potential clients away. How I want to reframe this is, as service providers, we can send our clients away by the actions we do. How are we able to better handle this? Just briefly.
Oh, thank you for that, Agnes. Yes, indeed, our service, the people who are the face of the organization, they really matter when it comes to management of client service, of clients and their needs. And as my colleague has said, it's actually very important how we communicate, and not only the actual communication where we are verbalizing words and even our body language. It's also how we receive our clients. I like emphasizing on the total communication, which involves the facial expressions and all that, and even just being, just making the client feel important. I remember when I gave my presentation, I talked about some of the key needs, basic needs of a client, is to be respected, is to be heard, is to be understood, to be made feel important. Now, when I walk into your clinic and you're busy on your phone, or you're busy eating chips, or you're doing all those funny things, and you make me feel I'm not welcome there. Well, if I have a critical need, I'll hang on because I don't have a choice at that moment. But like I said, our client is not, they come to us because of the situation. The next time I have a situation like that, if you don't make my experience memorable, I'll search elsewhere. So it's upon us as the caregivers to also impart it in the people who work on our behalf, that we have to be customer-centered at all times, in all aspects. It is those little things that count, and how we receive our clients, how we take care of, how we tackle their needs, how we give them hope in the process of sorting their problems is what really counts. Like I said, we are building a relationship. When you build a relationship with your clients, it's like you are in it together. You are concerned about their needs. And so when you build this relationship, and they are able to plug in and feel like someone is concerned about me, someone respects my need, then you can talk about, you can now count on that client not to go and talk to the 20 people about how unhappy they are, but because you have taken their need, you have addressed their need with concern and with respect, that they've come back to us. So indeed, yes, those people who are in our offices and who don't have the skills that are very, very critical on customer care, and that that basic knowledge about receiving our clients, that should be imparted in them. And it's something that we have to keep reminding ourselves, because the natural being is the natural human being is, you want to fall back on the negativity. It's easier to ignore people. It's easier to have an attitude. But how about positivity? What is it also doing to your own well-being? So yes, it can mean it is a make or break for our organization. So how we communicate with them and how we develop relationships is very, very important. And we got to really begin on that. Thank you, Agnes.
Thank you for that information. Indeed, even the first impression really matters for our customer care people who are at the front of the desk. We really need to train them, and just those soft skills so that they can make an impression on our clients and our customers as they come to receive the service. A question here about how do we take care of our clients who feel that they are more important than others in long queues. One of the things that have been discussed is about turnaround time, which makes clients have discomfort and complain. One of the major complaints, and one of the things is really we've learned from this presentation, just giving them the information that this is the time that it will take for such and such a procedure, or just managing their expectations. We found that just telling them that we wait for this much time and engaging with them instead of leaving them to just wait on the queues with no information really helps. I'd like to rope you in, Judy, on this. On your patient, the question if the patient had NHIF, and since you've talked with the patient and you saw that there are those stressors such as the financial issues, the lack of information, maybe you can just give a brief comment on that, Judy. Judy Machuka, are you with us? You're on mute.
Sorry, I didn't get the question clearly. Can you repeat it?
Did the patient have NHIF? But just in regards to that, you interacted with the patient in regards to these stressors, such as how the money and financial issues can affect communication and care, and how also the information, how she received the information in regards to her mother's care affected the care and communication. Maybe a comment on those two.
Okay, thank you very much. The patient did not have NHIF care. However, the information that was being relayed to the family regarding the mother's condition and the requirements for procedures was not received very clearly by the family. So the complaints were taken or escalated to the patient affairs department, which intervened. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now, as we are now coming to the end of this session, and what we've been talking about is effective complaint management and organizational strategy for client delight. Even as we talk on the overall topic, which was provider patient engagement for quality and safety, we've had a number of sessions this week. And this is our last session, and we really appreciate the information that you are getting. We'll have now our presenters give their concluding remarks, and we'll start with you, Ms. Annabelle Baduguru. Give us your concluding remarks on effective complaint management and communication.
Thank you, Agnes, on that. And I wish to say that complaints are inevitable and everyone has a right to complain. And it's very critical that we look at complaints as opportunities to either reflect, to either work on our processes, to either look back, see what we need to improve. And it's also a very critical aspect of quality improvement. And it's also good to note that our clients are very vulnerable, and they require the care that we give, that they require that care from us. They require our responsiveness. They require our reliability. They require the empathy from us. And when we are able to give that to our clients, we meet the expectations. It is those little things. It is those little things that are going to turn around the preconceived attitude that they have and make their situation get better. I also want to emphasize on that bit of the total wellness of the client, the total wellness of our patients, because we are also patients at some other times. That state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, even as we tackle the needs of our clients, even as we respond to our clients, it's good to ensure that all those three aspects are tackled and can be done through what we have been discussing this afternoon, through being concerned about the needs of our clients, putting them in the center, as we provide the solutions, and as we build a better system that is responsive to their needs. And I like what my other colleagues have presented, which all adds to give this topic a lot of weight. So it's doable, and I know we can do it. It's a team effort. Let us continue to take care of one another, and let us continue to be very concerned about our patients. And KNH is going places. I wish to say that this has been very, very insightful time, and sharing insights on the client, who is very, very important for us. I know that the sky is the limit, and it's possible to even beat competition. As my colleague from MPSHA has said, yes, there are so many caregivers, there are so many service providers, but we are still the best. KNH is still the best. And we are where we are, and I know we're going to even deliver better than where we are. And it is the small thing, it is that one step that is the beginning of a great journey. And I really appreciate where you are, and I also see a great, great future ahead of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that, Annabelle. Miss Elizabeth Wamwea, you can give us your closing remarks.
Okay, first of all is to really appreciate for this forum that we've had today, and to also appreciate the great partnership that we've had with KNH over the years. We work together, the nurses, the doctors, and all the staff that are there. And all I can say is that, can we continue to have meaningful and tighter stakeholder engagements? More than willing to welcome you. I think we had even spoken earlier on. At the end of the day, no one has the answer, but I know when we sit down and deliberate, we can be able to come up with ways on how we can be able to enhance the patient experience. Then I think also over to our new staff, the young nurses and the doctors. I think it's very important also during induction to try as much as possible to rope in a bit of the soft skills, because initially we all knew it's about bringing all the technical bits to the hospital. But we realize, one, we also need to have that business acumen behind us. Business acumen meaning treating the client, the patient, to the best. This involves our communication and how we also handle ourselves professionally. So I do look forward that we should be able to disseminate the same to all those who join the hospitals when they are young. Other than that, let's communicate, engage, and continue to partner to ensure that we all are able to serve.
Thank you for that. Thank you for those remarks. Indeed, we need to communicate and communicate. We even have one of our attendees who's giving their experience that they needed their results, and they were not told, they were not communicated to what they were suffering from and being told from one place to another without proper communication on the next step. So thank you for that. Mr. Peter Maura, you can give us a closing remarks, as even tell us whether we have compliments or we only have complaints. Are there some instances you receive compliments from our clients, our customers? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Indeed, we do have. And in fact, in this patient engagement week that we have had in the hospital, we did actually identify some of the staffs who had been complimented by clients. And I am aware that they were recognized and awarded some token of appreciation because actually the customers did register their compliments on how they were served by some of our staffs. And that is very much encouraging. And that is the way we would want to move. Compliments are there, they come, and we acknowledge them. And that is why some of those staffs were actually given those appreciation tokens. So to that extent, yes, we do have compliments. Otherwise, from my end, once again to thank you and to say that we are together in this, and we will ensure that we do our best in handling all the issues that are raised by our customers to at least make them have that experience that we are calling optimized experience. And that, to that extent, we are committed. Otherwise, to everyone, again, who has participated, thank you very much and God bless you. And we are well able to do this.
Thank you very much for that. I want to appreciate our participants for staying with us and for engaging with us. And also special thanks to our guests, our patient relative who gave her experience. We really appreciate you. Thank you, Judy, for bringing her on board. And thank you for staying with us. In an extension, also want to thank the Patient Affairs Unit who have been able to put this together and just give us all this information throughout this week as we recognize the importance of provider patient engagement for quality and safety. The head of unit, Auntie Rema, we thank you. She's listening in and she's here, and we really appreciate the effort that has gone into this week's work. As we come towards the end, we have questions about CPD. If you've not received your CPD, kindly email knhcpd@gmail.com. That is knhcpd@gmail.com, or cpdknhpharmacy@gmail.com. For the pharmacists, you'll need to use the self-reporting icon to make your CPD claim. You put in the title of the session, and KNH will be able to get that list and they'll confirm about the attendance. We'll follow up about the NCK to be able to get your CPD points. So we really appreciate your feedback and your staying with us. Do have a lovely evening. My name is Dr. Karingo from Kenyatta National Hospital. Goodbye. Thank you.